Good evening, everyone. So yes, we are meeting after so many days. We are sorry for the discontinuation for the time being, but yes, here onwards we will try to continue to provide consistently the Hindu analysis, and we have made some substantial changes also in terms of timing and the more comprehensive analysis that we will provide here onwards, and more number of questions, more number of articles we will try to add here. Okay, so as we start with the analysis, first of all we will try to find out the important articles relevant to our examination, and then we will go in details of all those articles. So these are the important articles, and in these articles we have categorized them from the mains perspective, their relevance, prelims perspective articles, and thereafter some important small articles which provides good data, facts which can be used in our mains examination, essay papers, GS papers, optional papers, and we will try to add such data from time to time here, and thereafter some mains related questions that we have framed. You can attempt those on the basis of discussion that we are going to have, and we will practice some prelims MCQs also on the basis of these topics. Okay, so look at the first page. 62% rural houses have tap water connections. Okay, so fully functional tap water connections. Now the government is saying that the data has increased and the number of fully tapped connections have increased under Jal Jeevan Mission, which was launched by the government in 2019. So we should know about such data, and the updated data should be mentioned, because the article itself is mentioning in June the center reported this figure to be 52%. Now you must have noted down at that time when let's say the newspaper may have covered. Now you need to update this data, because in mains examination the updated data is very important. Here we will also try to know what is fully functional tap water connections under Jal Jeevan Mission, and some basic objectives, provisions of Jal Jeevan Mission, and the findings of this survey by the government itself. Okay, so it is important from mains perspective, GS2 as well as GS3 paper. Now moving on, so other articles to some extent political in nature, so they are not much relevant. Now directly come to page number 4. On page number 4, on left hand side there is small news, although we have not mentioned here, but you can simply note it down. Drone from Pakistan drops heroin along the border. So how technology, the emerging technologies like drone technology, is being used by the non-state actors for the purpose of drug smuggling and anti-national activities that are being carried out. So border management, it is part of our syllabus in GS3 paper, internal security part, and this needs to be mentioned in our answer, that how drone technology is being used, or drones are being misused by the neighboring nations or the anti-national elements in the neighboring nations. Okay, so that is very important. You can keep this in mind, you can write in your answer this particular point. Now moving on to next. On page number 6, on bottom side, if you see the news, Visakhapatnam, a graveyard for the submarines. Now some students may skip this article, but a very good information is mentioned from the miscellaneous perspective. The first paragraph itself describes the Visakhapatnam as a city. Let's say suppose there is question in prelims examination describing a particular city, mentioning about some information, good information, unique information about that city, and it is asking you to identify that city. Such questions have been asked in the prelims examination. They can be asked again in the coming examinations. Okay, and yes, some past related data has been mentioned here in this article. Some events have been mentioned. So they are, yes, from the GK perspective also you should be knowing about them. We will cover this news here. Now important one is page number 8, editorial page. Here two important articles: choose safe surrender over infant abandonment. So why people resort to child abandonment, and why people needs to surrender their child if they are not able to, socio-economically not able to raise the child. what are the legal provisions under Juvenile Justice Act 2015, ये सारे चीज़ें हमारे GS2 पेपर social justice part के relevant है. GS2 paper social justice, also it can be asked in GS4 paper, let's say ethics part also. Okay, so we will cover this discussion from the GS2 and GS4 paper. Now, the other article on left hand side, left hand column, you can see boxed in. So, the context here surely on 30th September, RBI increased again the repo rate. This is the fourth such rise from the since we can say May month. ठीक है, तो 4 बार उन्होंने जो है रेपो रेट बढ़ाया हुआ है, and now it has increased to 5.9%. So, in this article, we will try to know the reasons why RBI increased this. Along with that, the possible impacts of increasing repo rate by the RBI on Indian economy. Okay, so all these aspects are important for both prelims as well as mains examination. GS3 part is their economy aspects. Fine. Now, on right hand side on page number 9, opinion page, Mahatma Gandhi, the peacemaker. Okay, so yesterday we celebrated the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, and that's why the article is written. See, every year, almost every year, UPSC asks one way or other way question on Mahatma Gandhi, be it optional paper, GS paper or essay paper. So, one should be knowing about what Gandhiji had, the philosophy related to different aspects of life, be it social, political, economic. And that's why this article is relevant, important, especially for GS4 ethics and essay paper. ठीक है, तो हम important क्या क्या यहाँ पर highlights है इस article के, what Gandhiji was talking about peace. So, good statements, good captions are mentioned in this article, and we need to note it down. We should use this in your answer in essay paper. Okay. Now, moving on text and context page. Now, text and context is very important. Is it as good as explained page in the Indian Express? Explained page तो Indian Express में हमेशा से ही आ रहा है, बहुत साल हो गए अभी, 1-2 साल तो minimum हो ही गए. But text and context is the new initiative of the Hindu newspaper, and those articles are very much relevant to UPSC examination. Like this one on the bottom side, what happened to the Nord Stream pipelines? Now, recently it was in news because the gas was spewing on the surface of Baltic Sea, under which this Nordic Stream pipeline is there, and the concerns have been raised also related to environment because of release of this we can say natural gas from this pipeline. So, although the article is written from the IR section, one should also know about the geography part, where this Nord Stream is located, in which sea it is located, which 2 countries it is connecting with. So, everything is important here from prelims as well as mains perspective. Fine? Okay. Now, moving on to next page. Okay. So, other news are political in nature, page number 12 and 13. Now, if we come to page number 14, on the bottom side, 2 important news are there. Telangana scoops Swachh Survekshan Gramin 2022 awards. Okay, now these awards are very much, we can say, in news, and every year they will be there in news, and they are important for our examination, prelims examination. Okay, so Swachh Survekshan Gramin, we are talking which ministry conducts this survey. Along with that, which states have been ranked first, second, third. Okay, so these aspects are important for our prelims examination, and surely there can be question in prelims examination related to this government schemes and surveys, we can say polity and governance part. On left hand side, PUCL report claims abuse of UPA Act seeks its withdrawal. There is a report released by this NGO, People's Union for Civil Liberties, and it has analyzed the annual reports of NCRB, National Crime Records Bureau, from 2015 to 2020. That data is important for our examination. UPA Act, GS3 paper, internal security part. The concerns related to UPA Act, limitations and challenges. Whenever we write challenges, limitations, concerns, issues with UPA Act, you mention this data, that the conviction rate is very low. Now the data is provided by the analysis by this report. आपने लिख के रखना चाहिए UPA related data. ठीक है. So yes, in this manner we'll note down this data also. On right hand side on page number 15 you can see at yes, unrest simmers in Burkina Faso following claim of coup. Now every time a particular country, a particular region, a particular lake, city at world stage, if it is in news, it is in concern, then we will surely cover this, because this year out of 14, 9 questions were from mapping section in geography, and out of those 9, 4 to 5 were from world geography mapping part. Out of them 3 to 4 were from the current affairs. अगर ऐसा होने वाला है तो हमें वर्ल्ड पेज बहुत ही अच्छे से समझ के लेना है फ्रॉम ज्योग्राफी मैपिंग पर्सपेक्टिव. ठीक है, आईआर के लिए तो है ही, हम पढ़ ही रहे, बट फ्रॉम ज्योग्राफी पर्सपेक्टिव ऑल्सो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो फॉर बुर्किना फासो, द वेस्टर्न अफ्रीकन कंट्री, विल कवर फ्रॉम द मैपिंग सेक्शन, विल सी द मैप ऑफ दिस कंट्री ऑल्सो. Okay, so small news is there, US, Australia, Japan to boost military ties, not specifically mention any, let's say, name of the initiative, but of course Australia, Japan and US are allies, and they always focus on, let's say, military cooperation. Okay, so the other article, sports page, is not that much relevant in today's newspaper. Now what we will do, we will go in details of all these articles, and these articles should be learned from the prelims as well as mains perspective. Time to time I will tell you this part is important from mains, this part is prelims. Although we have categorized this, but categorization is not always rigid one. Okay. Yes. So first one, abandonment versus surrender of child. Now why this article is written? When we read newspaper, we come across many such news that the police have found the child abandoned. Let's say, even if you, let's say, come across the local newspaper or news, this you will find so many news कि बच्चा जो है unattended मिला है bus stop पे, religious places पे, even many times the people throw the child or fetus in the garbage. So such kind of situations are, let's say, found in India many times. That's why this article is written, and one should understand the meaning of these two terms, abandonment and surrender. Abandonment, what do you mean by abandonment of a child? Abandonment means basically when the parents are leaving the child unattended because of certain social or economic reasons, and they are not simply taking the responsibility of the child. Okay, so they are abandoning child. Simply straightforward meaning is there. But the surrender, this is having unique meaning, surrender to child welfare committees. Established under Juvenile Justice Act 2015, surrender means basically the parents are not able to raise the child. They are not able to raise the child because of their economic conditions, because of maybe their health conditions, and they are surrendering their child to the child welfare committees, which can ensure that the child is getting appropriate nourishment, nutrition, education when the child is, well, let's say, getting 16 years or 18 years and age. So this is the difference between these two. Now what is the problem here with the abandonment? The problem here is that the child remains unattended for long period of time, and which can be a crucial time period, the child may die. But in this situation, the child is taken care of by the child welfare committee. Immediately the nutrition aspect, the hospitalization, everything will be done here, taken care by the government itself. This is the difference, and that's why this abandonment should be, demotivated, and the surrender of the child should be promoted. This is what the writer is saying in this article. But one should also understand that why people abandon children. Why parents resort to such kind of, we can say that even inhuman act, because of certain reasons. Let's understand these reasons. The first and foremost is that there is unwanted pregnancy, and there is some kind of social stigma associated with unwanted pregnancy. Social stigma. and therefore people do not want their name to be known by this particular act of unwanted pregnancy. That's why they abandon their child. Then relationship breakdown, let's say suppose there is divorce or the relationship is not working among the male and female partner in a relationship. So thereafter also the child is abandoned by the parents. Also the poverty is one of the reason. If the parents are not able to raise the child, many times they feel that the child needs to be abandoned. Because see, it is purely, we can say that, animal behavior, but it is to some extent also inhuman. But surely one of the reason is poverty also, economic conditions of the people. But one more reason is being called as drug addict parents, one or more parent being the drug addict, and because of that also the parent is not able to take care of the child. This also is important reason, but the writer is emphasizing that most important reason for abandonment is lack of awareness about law. Which law? Juvenile Justice Act of Care and Protection of Children Act 2015. Why we are saying that? Because one should know this act specifically mention, that there should not be any complaint filed against the parents if the child is surrendered. So it is not a criminal act. This provision is not known to the couples, people, parents, and because of that, one aspect, they are not coming forward to surrender their children. Second important aspect one should understand, that under Juvenile Justice Act there is Child Welfare Committee. So whenever a child is abandoned, within 24 hours it needs to be reported to, when the police found such child, within 24 hours this, let's say, child needs to be handed over to the Child Welfare Committee. Now this provision is also not known by the people, and therefore people, even they find the children, they do not come forward to report it, and this is the criminal act under Juvenile Justice Act. Even the common people, if they come across a baby, let's say left unattended at a public place, then it is a criminal offense. They needs to, we can say, immediately report to either police or Child Welfare Committee. Such lack of awareness about the law is also reason for child abandonment, and therefore there is need of more and more awareness about the child surrendering practices. The people, especially जब ये unwanted pregnancy होता है, तो unwanted pregnancies are largely known by, we can say, ASHA workers or dais in the rural areas. And surely if they are sensitized about need of surrendering the child instead of abandoning it, then they can communicate with the mother of the child or the parents of the child. This is very important, we can say, step that the government needs to take here. So sensitization is very important related to this act, and knowledge about child welfare committees, this needs to be spread. So IEC campaign related to provisions of Juvenile Justice Act 2015 is very important in this aspect. Fine. So social justice aspect as well as ethics paper, suppose let's say the reasons are asked, and suppose there is a case study like this, there can be question related to what are the reasons why people resort to such kind of acts. So you should be knowing about the reasons also, legal provisions also. Fine. Okay. Now moving on to next article, boxed in article talks about economy, the recent step by the RBI to increase repo rate. So this is fourth such time that RBI has increased the repo rate, and since May this year we can say it has been increased to 5.90 now. So it has been increased by 50 basis point, यानी कि 0.5 से बढ़ाया गया है, earlier it was 5.4. ओके मैं पिछले स्टेप्स भी बता देता हूँ कि इट वाज अर्लियर 4, देन 4 बेसिस पॉइंट से बढ़ा के उन्होंने 4.4 किया, देन 4.9 किया 50 बेसिस पॉइंट से, एंड देन 4.9, देन 5.4, एंड नाउ it's 5.9. This has been the sequence in last 4 months, we can say since May. Now, why RBI has increased this repo rate? One should clearly understand the concerns that RBI is facing, or Monetary Policy Committee simply. Extreme volatility in the international financial markets, persistently high domestic retail inflation and rupee depreciation, which is putting pressure on the rupee. Let's understand that international financial markets are volatile. Volatile because of, let's say, Russia-Ukraine war is there. Before that, there was COVID-19 pandemic, disruption of supply chains, and all these things happened. And the US was increasing its, we can say, interest rate. So dollar was flying away from the country. It is putting pressure on the rupee. So rupee depreciation was going on. And along with that, when this COVID-19 ended, the government of India, we can say that, put in lot of money into the economy for giving boost to the Indian economy. And because of that, we can say the money supply in the market increased. Now, when there is more money supply, there are inflationary pressures. So retail inflation is at present beyond, we can say, the eligible bracket of 2 to 6% of MPC. MPC is mandated to maintain the retail inflation within this range. It is now almost more than 7%. So it is within the range of at present 6 to 7%. But one should know that it is considered as high inflation. That's why the RBI has taken this decision to deal with inflation largely, we can say. Now, what is the possible impact of increasing the repo rate? This is applied aspect. It is already asked in the prelims examination many times. Again, it can be asked. And of course, mains में भी वैसे question आ सकता है. Now, the possible impact is surely a slowdown in general credit demand and housing. Now, why we are saying that? Because it will be for borrower, it will be costly borrowing. Okay, so housing or home loans will be costly now, here onwards. Interest rate on home loans, vehicle loans, other loans, personal loans, educational loans, the interest rate will be higher because of increase in repo rate. So simply one should understand that repo rate is the rate at which the banks keep the money, or the banks take the money from RBI. If it is higher, that means the banks are facing the problem here. They are borrowing from RBI at higher cost, so they will lend at the higher cost to the customer. Now, if the borrowing is costly, the borrower will be concerned. नहीं बाबा, अभी घर नहीं लेना है, अभी गाड़ी नहीं लेना है, थोड़े दिन रुकते हैं. This is how the credit demand falls down. Okay, next, existing borrowers will see their EMI, equated monthly installments, go up further. जैसे होम लोन पहले से ही लेके रखा है किसी ने, अब उसका इंटरेस्ट जो है बढ़ेगा, यानी कि EMI अमाउंट जो है वो बढ़ेगा because of increase in repo rate. Then most of the new borrowers will need to pay higher EMIs for their loans. अगर आप नया लोन लेते हैं, कोई गाड़ी खरीदते हैं लोन पे, घर लेते हैं, तो आपको ज्यादा पैसे देने पड़ेंगे EMI के. Okay, because of this situation. Now, the next impact is lower discretionary spending. Just now I said that अगर आपको ज़्यादा पैसे देने पड़ेंगे तो आप अभी नहीं खर्च करेंगे. आप बोलेंगे 6 महीने बाद मैं लेता हूँ, घर भी लेना है, 6 महीने बाद डिले करेंगे. So discretionary spending, especially on consumer goods. Consumer goods, necessary goods तो लेंगे ही आप, ठीक है, आप खाना तो खाएंगे ना, of course, तो you will buy food grains, you will buy vegetables. बट जो हम डिस्क्रिशनरी गुड्स या कंज्यूमर गुड्स जैसे टीवी हो, गाड़ी हो, सो द पीपल विल लोअर दैट एक्सपेंडिचर, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट द कंजम्पशन विल रिड्यूस एंड ओवरऑल डिमांड इन द इकोनॉमी विल रिड्यूस. दिस इज द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ, पॉसिबल इम्पैक्ट ऑफ, वी कैन से इंक्रीज इन रेपो रेट. फाइन, ओके. नाउ मूविंग ऑन टू नेक्स्ट, Mahatma Gandhi, the peacemaker. Okay, so from this article, let's understand the views of Gandhiji on peace building process. And some good captions have been mentioned in this article, which can be used in essay paper. Good statements are there, you can write them in your answers. Now see here, peace is the result of long process of compassionate dialogue and tireless caring across cultural, religious and political boundaries. See, peace is very difficult to achieve according to Gandhiji, and which requires a long process of compassionate dialogue and tireless caring across the cultural, religious and political boundaries. They are saying political boundaries, if we say that across the countries, the cultural aspect, yes, of course, different cultures are there in the world. If we talk about religion, different religions are there will be some conflicts, and if there is conflict, there will not be peace. To establish peace, such kind of compassionate dialogue among all these is required. Now, the context here is, of course, the war that is going on between Russia and Ukraine, and again the relevance of Gandhiji is there at world stage. Okay. The next statement, Gandhiji considered the problem of peace as ethical rather than political. Why he is saying that the problem of peace is ethical? Because unless and until, in the absence of, we can say, concrete ethical foundation, the political could not function democratically and non-violently. Simply, if the people, those who are leaders, if they are ethical leaders, ethical persons, then they will not resort to war. Simply the meaning of the statement is this one, and therefore they cannot function democratically. So those let's say leaders who have been in the past, they are aristocrats, or simply we can say that they focus more on gaining the power, like Hitler. अगर आप हिटलर का एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं तो one can simply understand that he lacked ethical foundation. That's why the peace was not resorted to. Now, this is the statement by the Gandhiji. He is saying in this statement that I do believe that where there is only a choice between cowardice and violence, I would advise violence. This is controversial statement, but the people do not understand the appropriate meaning of this statement. This statement was given in 1939 when basically Second World War was going on, and yes, a lot of violence was happening in country also at that time. Yes, but I believe that non-violence is infinitely superior to the violence. Forgiveness is far manly than punishment, but the forgiveness only when there is power to punish. A mouse hardly forgives a cat when it allows itself to be torn to pieces by her. तो इसका मतलब क्या है? काफ़ी अच्छा एक एग्जाम्पल दिया है वहाँ पर, जैसे जनरल डायर एंड जालियनवाला massacre that had happened in the past in the country. So Gandhiji was saying that the country had the power to forgive General Dyer. So if the people or the person has the power to forgive, so surely, or power to punish, then one can surely, we can say that also resort to other alternative, which is a way better one, forgiveness. That's why Gandhiji has always kept forgiveness at the higher pedestal. Reformative justice rather than punitive justice. That's why we can give reference to Gandhiji in such cases. And basically the violence and the war happens to some extent as a part of punishment rather than forgiveness. Simply we can talk like this. Now, while violence damages and undermines all forms of life, non-violence uplifts all. Very good statement one can use in your answer, and therefore Gandhiji advocated an awareness of essential unity of humanity, and that awareness required a critical self-examination and move from egocentricity towards the shared humanity. A very important statement, egocentricity to shared humanity. When we say egocentricity, the people, the countries start giving importance to themselves and keep the interest of others at lower pedestal. This is the problem. And if we shift this egocentricity to shared humanity, then we will consider the interests of all mankind as the same. And then we can say the peace is established. Understood? So that's why one should know about shared humanity. Shared humanity is basically the compassion, the forgiveness, or considering the interest of mankind together for all instead of focusing more on national interest. ठीक है? Yes. Now the next article, there is one small article related to empathy on education page, okay, in supplement, and we wanted to cover this because it is part of our syllabus GS4 paper, ethics. So empathy is a very important human value, also it is the foundational value of civil services. Now what do you mean by empathy? It, in general terms, simply one can say that putting oneself in the shoe of other. So understanding, knowing and understanding how the other person is feeling, other person is thinking, this is nothing but empathy. But exam में तो ऐसे नहीं लिखोगे ना, standard definition लिखना है exam में, right? So let's know the standard definition about empathy. It is the ability to share someone else's feelings or experience by imagining what it would be like to be in that person's situation. That will be called as empathy. Now, why empathy is important? Simply one should understand that as a being human, certain human values are essential to live as a part of human settlements or as a part of social animal, and that is why empathy needs to be practiced by the people. But the most important aspect, it makes person emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence is nothing but the ability of the person to know and manage not only the emotions of self but also the other people so as to ensure the socially acceptable behavior. Right? This is emotional intelligence. We learn this in ethics paper, and there are total 5 components of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-management, then we have motivation, social skills, and empathy. So empathy is one of the important component of emotional intelligence, and this empathy leads to responsible behavior by the people. At the same time, for civil servants also it is very important. Why? Because they have the responsibility of ensuring social justice, justice to the weaker sections of the society, welfare of the people. How civil servant is supposed to ensure these goals when the civil servant is not having empathy and compassion? So that's why the civil servants are expected to have empathy here. Now it reduces prejudices among the people. Why? Because the person start thinking from the other's perspective. So there will not be prejudices about that person or how the person is thinking. Along with that, it is making the person's mind a broader perspective, to think from the broader perspective, and this promotes tolerance in the society. This promotes tolerance in the society. So that's why it is very important, because nowadays we can see the instances of intolerance not only among the religious, let's say religious conflicts that are happening, but also caste conflicts and other things that are there in societies, not only Indian society, but the kind of racial conflict, discrimination that we observe in Western society also, right? So in this manner we should know about this. If we talk about the empathy among the children, like why it is important, it promotes pro-social acts such as helping and forgiveness while reducing the instances of aversive behaviors like bullying. ठीक है? So among the children, this is how the empathy is important. Now, how empathy can be enhanced? अभी तो हमें समझ गया है कि empathy important है. How to improve empathy among the people, how to inculcate these values among the children, this is also important. So self-awareness is the most important aspect to enhance the empathy among the people, among the children. Suppose, let's say we want to inculcate empathy among the children. One should, it is the responsibility of the parents to understand and let the child understand what he is feeling, what his emotions are there. Those emotions needs to be connected with the emotions of the others. This is how empathy can be inculcated or enhanced among the people. When the person knows own emotions properly and is able to now manage own emotions properly, that person can become empathetic person. Okay. Then the second, active listening. Let's say simply there is a group discussion, and if suppose a person is not at all listening to other people in that group, can we say that that person is empathetic? No. Suppose there is discussion between boss and a junior, let's say in an organization. तो अगर समझो वहाँ पे जूनियर कुछ प्रॉब्लम घर पे फेस कर रहा है, इफ द बॉस इज नॉट लिसनिंग टू व्हाट लेट्स से ही इज सेइंग एंड ही इज ओनली कंसर्न अबाउट व्हाई द पर्टिकुलर वर्क वाज नॉट डन बाय द एम्प्लॉय, then that let's say the boss is not empathetic person. Empathy is very important quality of leader, and the great leaders are always empathetic, be it example of let's say Abdul Kalam, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi. So they are the famous examples you can understand from them. Active listening is basically listening with attention to the people, what people are saying, not interrupting their let's say dialogue, and along with that giving more attention to non-verbal cues. Non-verbal cues can be anything, let's say facial expressions, hand expressions, or let's say suppose the person is crying or having a very angst in the expression. So one should pay attention to that. From that one can understand what the person is feeling. This is how the empathy is enhanced. Fine. Then find the similarities with the other rather than emphasizing on differences with the other people. This brings empathy, this enhances empathy, because differences divide the people, while when we talk about similarities, that unites the people, and the other person is now more motivated to share what he is feeling. अगर आप कोई भी आपका दोस्त आया है आपके सामने, ठीक है, एंड ही इज नॉट फीलिंग वेल, लेट्स से सपोज समथिंग हैज हैपेंड विथ हिम इन हिज पर्सनल लाइफ, एंड लेट्स से ही इज नॉट रेडी टू शेयर विथ यू, बट अगर आप जो है उसके साथ में जो नहीं मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ था, तुम्हारे साथ कुछ और हुआ है, इफ यू स्टार्ट फाइंडिंग द डिफरेंसेस, देन दैट पर्सन इज नॉट मोटिवेटेड टू शेयर दैट इंसिडेंट्स विथ यू. If you say that, अरे यार मेरे साथ भी ऐसा हुआ है, then the other person start feeling better one. ऐसा होता है ना, right? So everyone has faced like this, and this is nothing but the empathy. Refrain from judging other people. This is also very important to enhance the empathy. If we start judging the people, then the other person will not share next time anything. And this is a bad quality of the person. If we start judging the people unless and until the task is given to judge, ठीक है, तो वो होता है empathy. Fine. Now, what are the problems with empathy? अब इतना सब कुछ अच्छा होने के बाद प्रॉब्लम भी हो सकता है क्या? Yes, to some extent there are some problems with empathy, and what are those? Over identifying with others' pain. Yes, identifying with other pain is part of empathy, but many times the people over identify. Like for example, those working in care economy, or let's say those nurses, let's say example, in working in the hospital, doctors working in the hospital, suppose they start over empathizing with their let's say patients, तो क्या हो जाएगा? Of course they will not be making objective decisions. आपने देखा होगा मुन्ना भाई MBBS में, तो वो डॉक्टर क्या बोलता है कि पेशेंट से लगाव हानिकारक होता है. तो ये हानिकारक वाला कॉन्सेप्ट जो है ओवर आइडेंटिफिकेशन वाला है ना. यस, नाउ द सेकंड प्रॉब्लम इज मे प्रोमोट ग्रुपिज्म. सो व्हाई वी आर सेइंग दैट इट मे प्रोमोट ग्रुपिज्म? बिकॉज some people will start identifying themselves with only certain people because they have shared something in the past, and they start feeling that नहीं वही मुझे समझ के ले सकता है, दूसरा नहीं समझ के लेगा. इसको बोला जाता है ग्रुपिज्म. So they will not share something with other people, वो उन्हीं के साथ शेयर करना शुरू करेंगे, तो एक ग्रुप तैयार हो जाएगा, और वो सारे लोग जो है वो विद इन ग्रुप ही शेयर करेंगे, बाहर नहीं. This is we can say certain limitations of the empathy, but overall it is the positive and most important human value one should know, one should practice in their daily life itself, and of course civil servants are also supposed to have this. Now moving to the prelims part, Swachh Survekshan Gramin 2022 award was given by the president, and the first ranking was given to the Telangana state among the large states. Okay, so this is the news, and we'll cover the details of this award. So, Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation within the Ministry of Jal Shakti was carrying out this Swachh Survekshan Gramin since 2018. 2018 से ये शुरू हुआ है, and every year it is being conducted. This year it was basically contracted out to one survey agency, and the name of the agency is Ipsos Research Private Limited. It is survey agency, and this was conducted by this agency in consultation with states and districts. Now the three important weightage parameters, we can say the parameters that are there as a part of this survey, and the equal weightage was given to two among them, 35%, 35%. Service level progress. So 350 marks were given here, and citizens feedback 350 marks were given. डिटेल में ज़्यादा जाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, मेन एस्पेक्ट याद रखिए पैरामीटर्स में. डायरेक्ट ऑब्जर्वेशन वॉज गिवन 30% वेटेज. ओके, सो दीज आर द थ्री क्राइटेरियाज. आई विल रिपीट अगेन. सर्विस लेवल प्रोग्रेस, citizens feedback, and direct observation. 35%, 35%, 30%, and total 1000 marks were there. Fine. Now, which, let's say, states were given the ranking, top ranking? Telangana received the first rank, then followed by Haryana, then followed by Tamil Nadu, third rank. And among the small states and union territories, first is Andaman and Nicobar, second is Dadra Nagar Haveli, and third is Sikkim. Remember this ranking for prelims examination. Telangana, Haryana, Tamil Nadu among the large states, and Andaman, Nicobar, Dadra Nagar Haveli and Daman Diu, and third is Sikkim among the small states and union territories. Now among the districts, three districts ranked: first Bhiwani in Haryana, first rank; second rank Jagtial in Telangana; third rank again Nizamabad in Telangana. Okay, so first Haryana, second and third तेलंगाना के डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं. रैंकिंग डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स का भी याद रखना है हमें प्रीलिम्स के लिए. Fine? Okay, this is sufficient. And now moving on to next news, it talks about what happened to the Nord Stream pipelines. Recently, so first of all, why in news? Recently it was in news because concerns were raised about leakage at 4 locations of this pipeline. And it has been, there has been allegations that वहाँ पे blast किया गया है artificially so as to remove that gas from the pipeline and not reach to the European countries. Now talking about these Nord Stream pipelines, there are 2 Nord Stream pipelines, Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, or simply first one is Nord Stream and second is Nord. आपको दिखाई देगा, this is basically connecting Russia to Germany. Russia to Germany, and it is located in Baltic Sea. Located in Baltic Sea. Okay, and it is underwater pipeline. Underwater pipeline. The first one, Nord Stream, was completed in 2011, and Nord Stream 2 was completed recently in 2021. It is not operational yet. The second one. The first one was operational, and if we talk about some facts here, this Nord Stream pipeline was providing 40% of the requirement of this we can say natural gas of the Europe from Russia only. And because of this Ukraine war, since then it has reduced to now at present 9%. At present 9%, because one should know that the company which is owning the maximum stakes in this pipeline is state-owned company of Russia, Gazprom. So because of that, the problem is happening here, one can understand from this. Now, next, what is the extent of the damage? Extent of the damage, yes, some of the, let's say, authorities of the European countries, they are saying that the gas is being released into the atmosphere, and this week itself it will completely let's say release into the atmosphere from the And along with that, one should know that this damage is being at 4 locations, and the authorities of the European countries believe that they have been due to blast and not because of, let's say, any kind of maintenance problem. Okay? So this is the extent of damage. Now what will impact the leaks? What will be the impact of leak? Let's say impact on European countries. Of course, already there is high price of natural gas. Now as there are concerns related to leakage, there is high increase in price of natural gas in the, now there is winter is coming. When we say winter is coming, हमें Game of Thrones याद आ जाता है. But surely winter is coming, and these European countries require natural gas for the heating purpose. Russia was the sole source of natural gas for this heating purpose. अब इस साल winter में बहुत परेशानी होने वाली है Europeans को, because they will not have sufficient amount of gas for the heating purpose. Let's see how they cope up to this situation. But at present, this is the situation, and it is being said that because of this leakage and damage that is done, even if the war stops and the negotiation starts, the leakage for this pipeline will take lot of time for the maintenance. So, इस बार का winter तो चला गया. Okay, so this is going to be the impact. Now, what have the international bodies said? तो एक दूसरे को blame कर रहे हैं सब, European Union हो या NATO हो, they are calling this as an act of terrorism, or we can say sabotage. Ukraine has called it as an act of terrorism. So this is how they are blaming each other. We do not know what exactly have happened there. So IR section and geography mapping, Baltic Sea, Russia, then Germany, Nord Stream 2011, Nord Stream 2 to 2021, but it is not operational yet. Understood? Okay, fine. Now moving on. Visakhapatnam, a graveyard for submarines. Now why we added this? Because see, in the first paragraph itself they are giving good information about Visakhapatnam, a city known for being home for Eastern Naval Command, having largest integrated steel plant Vizag, and 1000-year-old Simhachalam temple. It can be asked in the prelims examination. Simhachalam temple is located in Visakhapatnam, Eastern Naval Command and steel plant. Of course, we learned that in geography also. Now, one more thing for which this location is important and famous in the past is sinking of Pakistani naval submarine PNS Ghazi off the coast of Visakhapatnam on 4th December 1971. This day is celebrated as Navy Day and Monument Victory at Sea. So you should be knowing about this Navy Day. PNS Ghazi was let's say sunk by our INS. Basically PNS Ghazi was intended to sink our INS Vikrant, the aircraft carrier. But हमारे जो है INS Rajput ने, the R class destroyer with depth charges, it has sunk the PNS Ghazi. इसके ऊपर एक movie भी आया था, काफ़ी अच्छा movie था, and it had narrated all the events that had happened at that time. Okay, so there is mention about that movie also. Also, there is one more submarine that was sunk during the Second World War. Japanese submarines was sunk off the coast of Visakhapatnam, and that's why they are saying that it is graveyard for the submarines. ऐसे दो example prominent है वहाँ पर. Fine? Okay, so from the miscellaneous perspective, geography mapping perspective, you should know about. Burkina Faso once again in news because of the coup attempt has been done again twice in this year. And basic information about Burkina Faso, it is Western African nation, the surrounding or bordering nations, आपको पता होना चाहिए. From north side there is Mali, then there is Niger, then there is not Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Ghana, Ivory Coast. Immediately open your atlas and have a look at this location, and you should be also locating the other important geographical features within the country. Previously, it was called Republic of Upper Volta, but it was renamed as Burkina Faso in 1984. The largest community that lives in the country is known as Mossi people, okay, ethnic group, and It was colonized by the French Empire in 1896 and it got independence later in 1960. Full independence जो है 1960 में मिला है, Burkina Faso. Okay, many times it is in news because of this military coup only. Now, the findings of survey commissioned by Union Ministry of Water Resources to assess the functioning of Jal Jeevan Mission. The findings of this report you can mention in your answer. GS3 में एक बार उन्होंने जल जीवन मिशन पे क्वेश्चन पूछा है in 2020. So that's why again you can write these facts, findings, the updated facts in your answer. What, let's say, report is saying around 62% of the rural household in India have fully functional tap water connections within their premises. Earlier the government gave data in June month, that was 52%, now it is 62% updated figure. Data. Now, what is fully functional tap water connections under Jal Jeevan Mission? It is saying that each and every household has the tap water connection getting at least 55 liters per capita per day potable water amount throughout the year. Remember this fact, at least 55 liters per capita, matlab per head per day potable water throughout. Now, good positive data from the report has been observed in terms of increasing the availability of the water. Over 90% of the village level institutions were getting potable water. Along with that, most of the, let's say 80% reported their daily requirement of water were being met by the tap connections. So, it is positive data or improvement. But the emerging concern is related to chlorine contamination. Chlorine is used for the water purification purpose, but the excess dosage of chlorine is being added for the let's say treatment purpose, which is contaminating the potable water. So, ये भी एक concern नया आया है because of that chlorine contamination. So, here onwards there is need of focusing on this aspect in the drinking water supply. Okay, so households, the highest level of connections for this potable water, fully functional we can say water connections, 80% and above households, Telangana, Goa, Himachal Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. Okay, and we can say very less Rajasthan, Manipur, Kerala, Andaman and Nicobar Island and Tripura. Now you may be thinking about why Kerala is having less, because in Kerala many places they are hilly places. तो वहाँ पे पोर्टेबल कनेक्शन से ज़्यादा वहाँ पे जो है ग्राउंड वाटर ज़्यादा एक्सट्रैक्ट किया जाता है एंड अलॉन्ग विद दैट इन द प्लेन एरियाज ऑल्सो ग्राउंड वाटर इज दैट. Okay, so that's why largely we can say the connection is not required. They are having more rainfall also. They are saving that rainfall in the dams. ऐसा आप सोच सकते हैं. ठीक है, bottom 5 में. Now the next is NCRB data on Unlawful Activities Act. So this Unlawful Activities Act is 1968. It was amended 2019. It was asked in mains 2019. That year only the amendment part, but that is not asked here, let's say mentioned here. Rather, one particular NGO, People's Union for Civil Liberties, has released a report saying that UPA has been misused, very low conviction rate is there and it should be repealed altogether. Let's see what it is saying in this report. It has analyzed the data of NCRB from 2015 to 2020. It is saying that per case conviction rate under UPA was 27.57% compared to 49.67% under IPC cases. So it is almost half of the IPC cases, 27.5. The per arrestee conviction rate was just 2.8% against the 22.19% in IPC cases. It is very low conviction rate we can say, and because of that and also very stringent bail provisions are there under UPA Act. People remain in the prison as under trials, bail is not given, and therefore human right violations, civic rights of the people are violated. This has been highlighted by this report. Okay, so note down this data and you can mention this in GS3 paper. Now we have added some mains related questions from whatever the discussion we had. Discuss the reasons for child abandonment in India. The reasons we talked about in the first article. Why child surrendering should be promoted? Question mark. Elaborate in the light of let's say provisions of Juvenile Justice Act 2015. So whatever the discussion we had, you can address this. Basics question RBI, why RBI increase or decrease repo rate? They are asking the reason. Now explain the impact of increase in the repo rate by RBI on Indian economy. Applied aspect, second part, पहला जो है वो concept पूछ रहा है. Now explain the importance of empathy as a value for civil servants. How empathy can be enhanced? Question mark. Simple straightforward question. Although UPSC from this year onwards they are asking complex nature of questions are there. पहले ही 4 question बड़े बड़े थे, बाकी के छोटे थे, that is different thing. But yes, now the students are supposed to prepare for large statements and let's say complex nature of questions. Now peace is the result of long process of compassionate dialogue and tireless caring across cultural, religious and political boundaries. Comment. So of course the statement based questions are asked in the ethics paper, and such kind of statements can be given there in ethics paper. You have to comment on these statements, you have to give certain examples. As applied aspect, you mention about Russia-Ukraine war, you talk about religious conflicts, be it let's say Palestine-Israel conflict or any other conflict like Rohingyas, you can mention the cultural differences, Western and the Eastern societies, the kind of let's say hate crimes that are happening nowadays in the Canada against the Indian community, you can mention that aspect. तो ऐसे examples mention करना ज़रूरी है question के answer में. Now last one, what do you understand by shared humanity? Question mark, discuss its importance in today's society. Okay, so here you explain the concept. In the second part, applied, you try to give examples from the present day society, how they are facing problem, we are facing problem in present day society, why there is need of shared humanity. Okay, now what should be answer to this question? Yes, try to attempt this question. Simultaneously, I will give let's say 30-40 seconds to you. Okay, so what should be answer to this question? It is talking about if RBI increases the repo rate, which of the following may happen? Okay, which of the following may happen? They are saying that may not happen नहीं है. So when the RBI is increasing repo rate, what will happen? Increase in the cost of home loans. Just now we talked about this, the possible impact. Yes, there will be increase in the interest rates and therefore increase in the cost of home loans. Increase in the demand, no, it will reduce the demand because people will not invest, people will not buy the things, demand कम हो जाएगा. Then increase in the rate of inflation, no, rather it is the measure to reduce the inflation in the economy, no, increasing repo rate. So that's why possibility is more that the inflation will come down. So it is not. Then increase interest rate on deposits with bank, yes, it is true because the banks will promote deposition of more money with it because they can park that money with the RBI for the reverse repo rate. ठीक है, तो इसलिए ये सही है. फोर्थ वाला जो है they will increase the deposit rate जो होता है interest rate. So 1 and 4 are the possible outcomes. D is the correct answer. Now what should be answer to this one? Very simple. Just now we talked about this city which is described among in these 3 statements. The city is home to Eastern Naval Command. It has the largest integrated steel plant. ऐसा क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है. And if you know at least one no Eastern Naval Command, हमने चारों जो है वो ईस्टर्न कोस्ट के सिटीज डाले इसीलिए. So if you do not know exactly, you may not attempt this. Then integrated steel plant in India, if you remember from the NCRT, which coastal cities are having the steel plants, तो आपको दिखेगा कि पारादीप पे एक है और वाइजैक पे एक है, right? So you can eliminate from that. पारादीप तो है नहीं है, but वाइजैक विशाखापट्टनम है. So that can be used because this is very trivial fact. Simhachalan temple, you may not be knowing about this fact. तो आपके पास स्कोप है एनसीईआरटी में जो पढ़ा हुआ है उसको अप्लाई करना, भले ही वो करंट अफेयर्स से क्वेश्चन हमने लिया हुआ है. फाइन. सो विशाखापट्टनम इज द करेक्ट आंसर हियर. नाउ व्हाट शुड बी आंसर टू दिस वन? स्वच्छ सर्वेक्षण ग्रामीण. Okay, it is carried out by Ministry of Rural Development. Incorrect. No, just now we talked about that. It is carried out by Ministry of Jal Shakti. Sanitation and water basically वो converge करके ही हमने जल शक्ति मिनिस्ट्री बनाई हुई है. So you can use that logic. अगर ग्रामीण देख के आप रूरल डेवलपमेंट मार्क करोगे तो that will be wrong answer. यही कंफ्यूज करने के लिए हमने वो एक स्टेटमेंट गलत डाला हुआ है. सेकंड वन, यस इट वाज कंडक्टेड बाय इप्सोस रिसर्च प्राइवेट. अब ये स्पेसिफिक है, नॉलेज आपको पता होना चाहिए इस साल कौन सी इंस्टीट्यूट के द्वारा किया गया है. सो दैट इज स्पेसिफिक इंफॉर्मेशन एंड दैट इज ट्रू. तेलंगाना वाज रैंक्ड फर्स्ट इन 2022 सर्वेक्षण अवार्ड्स, तो दैट इज ऑल्सो ट्रू. 2 and 3 is the correct answer here. C is the correct answer. Fine. So these are the important articles. Now if you have any question you can write down in the comment box. वो ओपन करिए एक बार. Okay, so simultaneously you can ask questions if you have in the comment box. Those online students, if you are following the Zoom link, in the Zoom link also you can ask question. एक बार Zoom link open कर दो. Fine. Okay. So okay, then let us stop. I will meet tomorrow at the same time, and those who are following or who have been following the Hindu analysis, I want to tell them that आप 2 साल हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, and let me promise that इसके आगे भी आपको consistently आपके प्रिपरेशन में काफ़ी अच्छे inputs मिलेंगे. If you trust us, you will surely get benefited, and that's why you try to follow on daily basis now here onwards the Hindu analysis of Lukmaan IAS. Fine. Thank you.
The first step towards achieving your dreams is having the right coach. Get the best education with Lukmaan IAS and make your UPSC dreams come true. Download the app now.